Hello, and welcome to the Exponential Growth Podcast, powered by Analyst Investors. I'm your host, David Olivencia, co-founder of Analyst Investors, and a passionate advocate for leveraging innovation and technology to drive success. Let's get started. This is Exponential Growth. All right. Well, hey, I want to welcome everyone to this first episode of the Exponential Growth Podcast. In this series, which is going to be roughly 8 to 9 episodes long. For our first podcast guest, it's an honor to have with us today a dear friend, a co-founder of Analyst Investors, a senior technology executive, a board member, an investor, a coach, an author, and even in his free time, he climbs some mountains. That he can talk a little bit more about, Marcelo de Santis. Marcelo, welcome to this first episode of this inaugural podcast. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, David, and it's an honor to be in this first episode. Thank you. Looking forward to the conversation. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to have some fun. So, Marcelo, I've got a pretty good idea of your life story and the journey that you've been on. It's amazing. A lot of different assets, right? Assets and aspects of it. Just walk our listeners through your life story and how you got to today.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, basically, I'm Marcelo de Santis, originally from Argentina. You maybe already found that out because of my accent. I cannot get rid of it. Been in the US since 2001. So I became an American citizen 3 years ago, very proud American citizen. Married with Ana Paula. She's from Peru. We have no kids, but we have 2 dogs, which keep us pretty busy, German Shepherd and a Labrador. As David said, my time gets divided across many different interests. I would say basically it's between my family here and in Argentina and in Peru. My wife is from Peru. And helping businesses and startups to grow their ventures, leveraging technology innovation, and climbing mountains. Yes, that's something I like to do in my free time as much as I can. From the career standpoint, I like to think of my career in 3 chapters, right, David? I mean, chapter 1 has been Chief Information Officer, driving operational efficiency in different companies, leveraging technology to enhance profitability. That means leading the implementation of ERP solutions and software as a service solutions across different functions and regions. I have the opportunity to live and work in Europe, in Asia, here in the US, in Latin America, doing M&A, integrations, shared services, all of the things you do to improve the profitability of companies. So, chapter 1 was more about cost optimization. Chapter 2 was...
And on chapter one, real quick, though,
yes.
What I admire is this is a global view, right? So you're in Italy, you're in Europe, you've done a lot of different things and at scale, large companies globally, right? Which is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've been around many different countries, and to be honest with you, that was a part of my career that I enjoyed the most. Being able to build teams and grow teams and deliver outcomes across different cultures, right? It's not the same to do a transformation in the US or Latin America or in Asia or within Asia. If you're working in China or in Japan or in India or Australia, you need to adapt yourself to different ways of conducting business and accepting change and adopting new ways of working. So absolutely, our chapter 1 was great. Chapter 2 also was great. I mean, I'm very happy with the 3 chapters. It was more about driving top line growth as a chief digital officer. That was about using technology to, drive e-commerce, direct to consumer initiatives at Mondelez, monetizing data at Pirelli, and helping to scale up startups in my last work at ThoughtWorks, right? So basically was about growing revenue, right? That chapter 2. And chapter 3, it has been and it is going to be more about impact, right? This is more dedicated to leave a legacy, right? I mean, first as a board member at UNICEF, where I have the opportunity to support implementation of technology to help or to enable education programs across the world, provide internet access to schools in places that never had internet access in the past, and then at high tech and Angeles investors, in where basically I'm working to develop the next generation of technology executives and entrepreneurs, and that's chapter 3, right? So it was cost optimization, revenue growth, and impact. And in total transparency, the 3 chapters are happening all at the same time every single day, right? So that's about my career and my personal life, David.
Oh, no, that's amazing. And in between there, you've climbed some mountains, some pretty interesting ones. Maybe you can share a little bit there. And you wrote this book. So, speaking of chapters, it's very appropriate, but you wrote this book, Figure 8, right? And I got the exclusive copy, and somewhere here I think I got a little signed copy from Marcelo. And you can hopefully, I don't know, maybe see that. We'll see
Oh
that.
yeah, well you got the special edition, David. You know that only 100 of those books have been printed with that light blue light color in the cover. So it's
Well, it was an honor too, right? I mean, they're pre-ordered, and the guy I authored a book too, but pre-ordered it, and it's an amazing accomplishment, right? But maybe quickly, touch on touch on the book and touch on the mountain climbing. I think it's
um,
because I believe you. I know you've trained for Everest. I'm pretty sure you climbed Everest. Um, and then you have the book, and they're a bit intertwined, but would love a little bit go deeper on those two if you could.
no, of course. And as I said, every 2 or 3 years I do things that are a challenge. I consider that are a challenge for me, and I like to go through those challenges and learn new skills. So at one point, I was kind of scared of swimming in open waters. So I started to train to finish Ironman competitions, and where those I have finalized any of those competitions, you need to swim in open water with 2,000 people at the same time. And these days, we start in waves, but 10 years ago, we started all together. So I overcome the fear of open water swimming, putting myself in the situation where I have to train for an Ironman. Then through time, I also was scared about heights, right? And started to do mountain climbing when I was living in Asia, and I started to climb mountains in New Zealand, and then I came back to Argentina to climb Aconcagua for the second time in my life, and then went to the Himalayas. And when you get to the Himalayas, you get the bug of mountain climbing. I climb Amadablan, I climb Choyu, I climb Manaslu, and then I got into Everest, right? Everest has been a little bit of a hit and miss for me, right? I've been there 2 times. First time, an avalanche killed 15 people all at once, and 5 of them were very good friends of mine, and one of them very, very good friend of mine. I was very hard on the team, on myself, so I have to take a couple of years to recover physically and emotionally, mostly emotionally. And then I came back in 2016, if I remember well. I was doing very well up until I got, a cold, at 8,000 meters, getting a cold in Everest is a challenge. And that developed into a pulmonary edema at almost Camp 4, right before we were going for our summit bid. So I have to come back. You can read in the book the whole story. I don't want to use the time, but it was a very difficult day for me, right? I think it's before that day and after that day in my life, and it changed perspective in many aspects because I was very close to die. And and that changed the way I look at my career and the things I do, and specifically how I use my time, right? I mean, I want to make sure that every single second of my time is invested in something, you know, that is positive for the people I am with, for the companies I work for the communities I serve. I'm very picky. How do I spend my time after that episode in Everest? So yeah, I mean, I love to climb mountains. Gonna be soon climbing the Ecuador volcanoes in a couple of months. So you never quit climbing when you love to climb mountains.
Oh, no, I see it. And it's like there's never a mountain that's too high for you, Marcelo, or too out of the way. Ecuador, New Zealand, all over the place. No, amazing. And I know there's a lot underneath there. Read the book more. But Marcelo, talk about the book. So got Figure 8, came out. Let's see. Am I having an issue with the camera? Let's see. Okay. So we had the book Figure 8, that came out. Um, nice little project. What inspired you to write the book? Tell us about the journey. I would love to hear about it.
Oh, absolutely, David. And first, you have been, I call you the padrino of the book, because David has been part of the project from the very beginning when I was thinking about, do I write the book or not? Because that was another challenge, for myself was about, can I write the book having English as a second language? Will I be able to learn how to write the book when I never did it, right? And David has been instrumental in helping me in the journey. But, in regards to the book, to Figure 8, Figure 8 is a book about leadership strategies for times of exponential technology innovation. And for many years, in all my executive engagements and positions that, work that I had in different companies, I observed that technology innovation often outpace the ability of organizations to adopt them effectively, right? This was leading to companies to miss out on the financial benefits of these innovations. Worse, I mean, many began transformations that were abandoned after a few quarters due to their inability to adapt to new ways of working or operating models. So it was right close to January 2023 that I had the opportunity to collaborate with the MIT Technology Review on a report called Evolutionary Organizations Reimagine the Future. When we were doing the research for the report, we were talking to different executives across different industries, across different geographies, and we found out that 24% of the respondents identified organizational structures as the main bottleneck for transformation. And 17% of them pointed to internal processes and leadership behaviors as the key obstacles, right? So when I look at that, I said, wow, the observations, my personal observations, and this data could be the source of finding some strategies to overcome these leadership challenges. So I truly understood that to overcome these barriers and remain competitive is not just about enhancing technology capabilities, but about developing new leadership capabilities. So I think in the book, I try to explain that organizations need leaders who can navigate complexity, foster agility, drive continuous innovation across different levels of their business and within their ecosystem or the industry. And I truly wrote this book to equip leaders with human-centric strategies to navigate these kind of situations. So they can actually make their business better, their teams better, and their communities better. So that's about Figure 8.
And figure 8 it's a knot. Can you just share the symbolism
Of
of
course.
the knot and everything?
Yeah, the book is called Figure 8 because I already shared with you I like to climb mountains. So Figure 8 is a knot we use in mountaineering, or if you are a sailor, you will also understand what the knot is. And the knot has a very specific characteristic. It's very versatile, right? It's very strong under load, still very easy to untie, right? That flexibility, that versatility is the kind of leadership I describe across those 8 strategies. The ability to learn and learn, the ability to stay close to our core values, the ability to build connections, the ability to build connections that are rooted on trust, that are long lasting, the ability to build connections within your team, within your organization, within the ecosystem of the industry that you work. I mean, it's all about tying relationships and tying ourselves to our core values, because we are technology innovation is driving change every single day, and the only way to navigate those times is when we are tied to the right values and relationships, and and our ability to influence today to have a better future.
Yes, it's so for the listeners out there, right? I mean, this podcast, it's called exponential growth, right? We're living in times of exponential change, whether it's technology and the rapid advancements in technology. So the podcast is like, in these times of exponential change, how do you keep aware of all the technologies that are making this exponential change happen? One, how do you then lead in an environment where there's a lot of technological change? And like this, if you're a leader out there, right, a leader or team member out there, right, this gives you the tools to do that. But lastly, also, how do you invest and gain from in an environment like this? There's a lot of great investment opportunities. So how do you win and gain in an environment like that? So strongly recommend the book Figure 8. Um, and then Marcelo, now so you've been chief information officer at many Fortune 500 companies globally. You have an interesting technology perspective, but if you all follow Marcelo on social media, is very up to date on all the different technologies that are out there and their impacts, and really kind of providing insights on an ongoing basis. Marcelo, when you think about uh, top 2, 3, 4, whatever you think the right number is, but the big breakthroughs in technology, everybody's talking about AI right now, all that stuff, right? But where do you see are the big that our listeners should just keep an eye on, because it's coming, it's disruptive, it's going to have a lot of impact. What are the 3, 4-ish technologies that you think we should be aware of?
Yeah. So I would say let me explain it, because my first answer, the short answer, will be artificial intelligence, right? But let me explain why, right? Because just look at any single day of your personal life, right? How many personal interactions, customer interactions, if you're an employee, how many employee experiences are being augmented by technology? Most of them, right? And that will continue that way, and will continue in a way where those interactions are going to be augmented by smarter technology or artificial intelligence, right? And I'm very optimistic about technology. I'm not one of those that think that technology is going to become a monster, it's going to eat all of us. I do believe that if we continue to be in charge and we're responsible, we're going to get the best out of it. But AI to me, in different shapes or forms, is going to be what's going to change the future of business, humanity, and society. These days, there is a lot of concern about the large investment we are seeing in building AI infrastructure. But that's on one side. But on the other side, I can already see business relevant applications of of AI in industries like healthcare, financial services, obviously advertising, when the impact is now, it's being seen now, right? But I promise you to give you three more things below the AI umbrella. And the reason of my optimism about AI is because I look at AI at the intersection of three key elements, right? The first one is the large language models, right? I mean, as you can see, you can actually, in a daily basis, literally, you can see that these models are becoming more powerful, more versatile, more specific in the work they do. If you just get into Hugging Face, which is repository, a platform that has open source models, there are more than 500,000 models, or maybe more at this point, right? And many other data sets that we're using for training them. Even these language models are becoming smaller, right? And why is that important for the future of automation and everything is intelligent, as I call it, is because these models will be able to operate in every single device, right? From your smartphone, from a camera, from a microphone, from a TV set, whatever, right? So imagine that, those models, all that intelligence is going to be omnipresent in every single device, in every single interaction. So the models are one ingredient that I'm looking at. How do they evolve? And they're evolving very fast, daily, literally, as I was explaining before. The second ingredient is AI computing, right? And here we're talking about, if I have to give a title, it's going to be NVIDIA kind of capability, right? Semiconductors are not only becoming faster, but also more energy efficient, which is good news, right? The amount of electricity and cooling capability that we will need in the future to run all these data centers is going to really go exponential also. But there are other companies, right? You see AMD also is working on their semiconductors. Every single cloud company, hyperscalers, are building their chips, right? Because they want to be self-sufficient. So continue to look at models on one side, computing power on the other side. And the third aspect that few people follow, but I do encourage you all to follow, is software engineering practices, right? I mean, how software engineers are actually building these models, how software engineers are actually architecting solutions, building agents, right? That can actually automate many of the work we do in a daily basis, and hopefully giving us more time to use our brain in much more added value activities, right? So you have things like synthetic data to train models, which when you think from the economic perspective, is going to facilitate and accelerate how these models are being trained, right? It's cheaper, better, faster. AI copilots for software development, which are since many years ago. Some people think it's new, but in my previous stint at ThoughtWorks, we were using copilots for software engineering since maybe 6-7 years ago. This will help software engineers to reduce the time to market for AI-enabled products, right? I mean, it will do maybe 50 or 60% of the work in coding that a human is doing today. And that means that software engineers will be able to spend more time in things that matters the most in a digital product, which is, the interface, the architecture, the scalability, the optimization of those products, making those products safe, right? That they do not hallucinate that much. And if they hallucinate, you can actually have feedback loops so that hallucination doesn't become a problem, hurts a business operation, or hurts the brand of a company, right? If we have a reputation problem. So basically, I look at the technology combining those three elements. um, computing, the models, and the software engineering practices. If you look at the evolution of these three individually and you think about the intersection, the potential is infinite almost. Last but not least, all of this evolution is happening in times in where we are defining regulations and new laws on AI. So it's a constant challenge between innovation, regulation, business growth, doing the right thing for humanity. So to me, it's the best possible time to be in technology, to be honest with you. And again, I'm very optimistic. I think technology is going to help us to be better humans if we want that to happen.
Yeah, you got this kind of accelerating change with AI, the intelligence, the co-pilots or AI intelligence that's working along. Right now there's one coder and then they have a co-pilot, but who's to say you can have one co-pilot? Well, why can't you have three? And then if you can have three, why can't you have 300? And you
Yeah.
get this big exponential thing, and then the innovation and the amount of product content that you can put out is just it's amazing, and you almost can't imagine it, right? And then to your last point is like, well, and then you got the computing that's continuing to get better in an exponential way, and these models are getting more intelligent and more micro, right? So AI, and I've been in the technology industry my whole career for the most part. It is almost 10x, 20x more impactful than any, I would say. I don't know if you would feel the same way, Marcelo, but 10x, 20x more impactful than any, what I felt when the internet came on, when all web came on and all that kind of stuff. It's truly, truly amazing. And the government, you know, the government time cycles to do everything, and August vacations,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff, and the political infighting. It's it's going to be an interesting couple of years how we handle that. But we'd love
Oh,
to have you.
yeah, it is. And you know, we were in Latitude a couple of weeks ago, and I was part of a panel with other colleagues, from IBM, from Microsoft, and I was preparing myself for the panel. I think it was when I'm saying daily change, this is what means daily change. Uh, I was reading about this recently launched open source model called Reflection, right? Basically, it's an open source model that on Thursday morning was the best open source model in the market that had the ability not only to produce super great results, but also to reflect on the results, meaning that if the model identifies that is saying something that is not correct, it has this loop for actually reflecting and correcting itself. That was Thursday morning. Since it's open source, which is a good thing, I love open source because I can see what's happening, what kind of data is being used to train these models, which to me, as a technologist and as a business person is important. In the afternoon of the same day, there was a whole community saying that, well, it was not the best, it was the second best, or it was a fraud, or what. To make the long story short, it went from being the best to being the worst to being very good. After 3 days, we got OpenAI launching the new version of OpenAI, which was Strawberry, which has also the same capability, more or less, of reflecting and correcting. Again, OpenAI is not that open source as we think it is. And all these things are happening in a matter of days, right? And if I continue to tell you the story of what was last week or what was this week, what was happening in OpenAI as a company, or what is happening with Anthropic, which is another company that builds, it's impossible to be on top of everything. And it's impossible to be on top of the European AI governance, regulations, and all the money that is coming from the government in the US to build data centers, and the impact that has not only in the technology industry, but also in the energy industry. Then you have Microsoft investing in energy companies. So it's very difficult to follow. Now, that's where I think is also the exciting aspect of all of this, is at the intersection of all those forces. I think that's where the innovation is going to emerge, right? And again, optimistic, right? But it's not so easy to be on top of it.
No, definitely, definitely. So Marcelo, you've laid out that, when you think about the technologies out there, extremely bullish on AI, right? And and we talk about exponential growth, this podcast, and where we're going, and even underneath AI, right? You've got the models and the custom, the fine tuning of the models, the chips which are going through exponential growth, the software engineering and co-pilots, right? All of that doing exponential growth. Now, the other aspect about the podcast is, okay, in this if we just look at AI example as like a mega exponential growth in those areas, it's about investing, right? And so we're not giving investment advice, but more of like, if how would one think about investing and the money that's getting invested from the big companies, and where do you position bets and what should you be looking for? How would they think about um, best positioning themselves for
Mhm.
investments in this area, whether it's startups or even public equities?
Yeah. As you say, I'm providing a personal point of view on investments on AI, and when investing in AI, I tend to focus on the long-term potential of AI, right? Because let's be honest, um, these days most of the investment that we are seeing in the market is in infrastructure, right? I mean, it's computing power, right? Um, and the real return on investment on all that computing power will emerge in business applications, in services that are still, to be seen, right? I mean, I haven't seen cases that are at scale, and I want to make sure that you understand at scale, because yes, everyone can do a proof of concept with a small amount of data within the guardrails of your organization. Yes, that's not that difficult to do, but scaling up AI-enabled product is a completely different thing. Letting a product to make decisions for yourself, for your organization, for your customers, for automating a robot or anything like that is a completely different game. I haven't seen that scale. So focus on the long-term potential, understand what is actually delivering value today, right? I tend to look to companies that are solving real problems, right? Not following the trends. And I seen, as I said before, I seen industries in where AI is already providing value, right? In certain pockets, right? If you look at healthcare, image recognition, X-rays, MRIs analysis, that's helping doctors not to make the final diagnostic, but certainly to be better informed to diagnose any single disease. Financial services. I had the opportunity to work with 2 or 3 large financial institutions in where financial services typically they have a lot of data about the market, customers, transactions, and they can use that to build agents to help their advisors, the human advisors, to better advise their clients, right? I think the next step is how those advisors will actually connect directly to the clients, but I think we're still a bit far from that kind of autonomy because the models are evolving. I would say that robotics is an area that I follow closely, and the reason is that something that I said before, these models are becoming smaller, right? And if you have smaller models, they can run in a smaller hardware. And if the hardware is small, it can be very close to where the action happens, right? So if you put that into the context of robotics, robots will become much more intelligent, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
if there is a sector that will see value coming out of AI in this context, it will be the industrial sector, right? Um, and that on one side we create productivity. We need also to think about the social impact of that, right? Because many jobs are not going to be maybe available anymore, but hopefully we can relocate the human power into higher value added activities, right? So robotics will be another area, and then that's from the industry perspective. Then what I look is at the AI end-to-end supply chain, right? So from GPUs to data centers to energy to all the software industry, the models, the business applications. So don't think that AI is only the chips, or don't think that AI is only the software. The energy sector, it's an area that you should be looking at, right? You should be looking at how many data centers are we going to build in the US, right? To be independent in terms of producing the computing power to power up this AI for the US, right? So you need to look at the whole supply chain and find which are the companies that have a potential, that are growing, that might not be the first in the list, right? That the ones we mentioned before, but might be the second in the list. Because let me tell you something, there will be a scarcity of anything, of semiconductors, of energy, of software engineers, or copilot. So maybe you want to invest in the second or the third, right? And diversify yourself. So, industries, supply chain of AI end to end. And I think if you look at those things carefully, and, if you don't know, ask people that are experts in each of those sectors, you will be fine. It is a future. To me, AI and everything that comes with AI is a future.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, you have some understanding of AI, increase it across all these different areas. You're going to win in this future. And I think it's more also like look about how it can be applicable to what you're doing, your industry, your function. Marcel laid out all these different aspects of it, from the chips, data center, energy, of the system, the software, the applications, all this stuff that's sit on top of it, and your place in that ecosystem. So Marcelo, as we begin to wrap up here, you've got an amazing background, kind of still in some aspects just warming up, right? And we know you're going to be mountain climbing here in Ecuador in a couple months. What's now at this, call it third chapter, or maybe fourth or third, what's next for you?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it is a fourth chapter or 3.5, but there is a new chapter, right, coming. I'm currently transitioning to my next career adventure, if I can call it that way, right? So I'm building it as we speak, right? The only thing I can tell you is going to be at the intersection of artificial intelligence, business growth, and social impact. No doubt about that. Has to have the three ingredients. And the second ingredient is that it has to help organizations to enjoy the return on investment of technology innovation responsibly, right? I mean, and the last part, the responsibility aspect, is very important for me. I don't know if you know, but I have the honor and the privilege to work with United Nations in putting together the responsible technology playbook for them. How do we build data products in the United Nations that are built understanding that it has to be built with responsibility, with inclusivity, with lack of bias in the data. So those kind of things are going to become important ingredients of any business application of technology in the future, because I foresee most of the operations of companies are going to be digitized one way or another, augmented by AI. And responsible technology is not only the right thing to do, but I do believe is going to be equal to your brand equity, right? Do we have consumer customers that would like to use your services, your products, because you have committed to build those digital experiences with responsibility, with data privacy, making sure that the way you train those AI agents is something that is observable from outside. So those responsible technology practices are becoming I would say. It will be at the center of modern business, right? It's not going to be a technology thing anymore. It's pure business in the digital era, right?
So it will be very interesting, Marcelo. Maybe in our next season 2 or season 3, we're going to have you back, and will be great to kind of summarize this and get a good sense of where you're at. But I think definitely, in those areas, right? Impact, technology, social good, right? It'll be great to see all the amazing things that you do next in that area. And so it's been an honor to have you with us, Marcelo. Share a little bit more about your life story, tech and what you enjoy, your career, all these exponential growth around AI, your perspectives on AI, your thought leader in that space, a little bit on investments and, how do you think about AI as you invest? And all these areas around exponential growth, right? Best positioning these listeners to take advantage of how they best position themselves in a time of exponential growth. So, Marcelo, thank you. And how would people connect with you on social? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. How do people connect with you across social channels?
Oh, well, thank you. And thanks for having me. I know, follow me on LinkedIn. I mean, I typically post technology and business insights daily. I would say my branding in LinkedIn will be something like less hype and more real world business impact, right? But I will be honored you to follow me and connect with me. I use LinkedIn to learn, to be honest with you. Sometimes I post questions and people say, why are you asking that question? And my answer is because I want to learn, right? And I learn from the comments, I learn from your interactions. So please be my guest, find me in LinkedIn. And I'm happy to have a virtual conversation with any of you at any time.
And it's LinkedIn / Marcelo de Santis, or is there any?
Yeah, it's direct.
It's
Yeah,
very, it's a
slash
space de
Marcelo de
Santis
Santis.
too, right? Sometimes people put it together, but Marcelo de space
Santis.
Santis. Well, Marcelo, again, honor to have you on. Thank you for making this first episode of Exponential Growth excellent. We look forward to staying in touch and see you soon.
Thank you, David. It was an honor being here. Thank you very much.